Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. I have some great videos and narrative is everything. I want you guys to stick with me today, and I want you guys to be the preachers out there, because we have got to get people to understand that none of this stuff is by accident. None of this stuff that we are little slaves walking around, and unless we understand what these people are doing to us and stop being their sycophants, we have got to. Oh man, today after listening to a couple of things, I really said to myself, we got to keep this up. We got to keep going hard. We've got to keep going hard. Bridge MCP says, Alistair Waters, get out of the car. Ha ha. AVQ says, watching from Twitch. AVQ, by the way, Michael, how's that sore throat doing? Has it started getting better? Did you get some antibiotics for it, or was it viral? What's the K-Pass? I want to know your condition. Let's see who else is here. Michael Rudden is here. Alistair Waters is here in the car. I am so honored that you're listening to Politics Done Right in the car. We also have Paul Fleming Sr. ATL checking in. He says, and did I miss anybody? Bruce Pollard says, 1 down, 4 to go, but it's soon enough to say Roe is dead. Roe is dead. It's dead in every single red state that decide they want to have draconian laws. The good thing about it is they're calling it a states' rights issue. So what we're going to eventually get is, I have the tape of it, but I didn't have a chance to process it. But Steve Kornacki did a show who was Democrats, who Republicans, and that sort of stuff, right? And what it's starting to turn out to be are the people that are sycophants are the ones who are going to ultimately, well, how should I say this kindly? There are just so many people that allow themselves to be manipulated, and they are going to live in that life of despair. They're always in a form of despair. And what I really eventually see is that people with money will move to these red states because their money can go that much further, because, again, they don't take care of their people. So they'll go make their monies in the blue states and then come and move here to the red states. I already have a whole lot of friends that do that. They made all their money in the blue states, and they come and live cheap in the red states, right? In other words, they're taking advantage of the people in a sort of easy way, but that's what we've decided we wanted. But we go into all those different topics another time. Let's see who else we got here. Paul Fleming is here. I think I saluted you. Going back down, we got Herschel Walker is leading Warnock in Georgia. Is simply bananas. I didn't realize, what is the score? What is the poll number for Herschel Walker versus, I'm curious, how big a lead is it? Is it 2 points, 5 points, 10 points? That would be nuts if that happens. That would be nuts. Egberto, the doctor isn't sure what I have. Harsh sore throat won't go away. After 2 weeks now, I'm taking chloroseptic and a dozen Halls drops daily just to keep the pain down. Gave me Robitussin, etc. by 2 points. That is within the margin of error, more than likely, Paul Fleming. But if Democrats go out and vote, they can beat the sycophants that are just voting for the sake of Donald Trump. It can be done as it was done with Ossoff and Warnock before. Hey, y'all, Lee Grant, welcome to Politics Done Right. Rudnin, you know what I honestly think, Rudnin? I honestly think you have a coronavirus that it's just not one of the variants that's just not detectable by the current regime that we have. You know, the reagents that they use look for certain markers and probably just not found in yours. But more than likely, your system is eventually going to pass it in a few few more days. I imagine it has gotten somewhat better. I hope it has gotten somewhat better, Mr. AVQ. I sure hope so. All right, so let's see who else we've got here. Herschel Walker leading. Egberto, oh yeah, there's a bunch of things in the news that are getting to me as well. I hear you, brother. I hear you. Okay, Egberto, I had a rapid test and a PCR test and they didn't find COVID negative. Oh yeah, I got you. I got you. I'm just saying some variant of something. You know, wait, well, that's silly. You know that already. Anyhow, let's go with what you brought to us, Redden. Egberto, if you're able to put the graph on the screen, I'm not going to put it right now. I'll see if I can do it later. Methane, an incredibly potent planet-warming gas, just set another record for the second year in a row. Methane increased by 17 parts per billion in 2021. NOAA reported the rise in 2020, just above 15 parts per billion, was the previous annual record. The latest figures come days after the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released a report describing how the world should address the climate crisis. The panel reported that as the world barrels down the levels of global warming that will have irresistible impact, there are economically viable solutions already out there, including carbon methane emission, which, you know, when you drill a well, a whole lot of these guys, yeah, they flare it off, but a lot of them just have it escaping. The fastest way to turn down the heat. The concentration of methane in the atmosphere is higher now than at any time in the last 800,000 years, according to IPCC. Some people say, how do they find that out? Just go to the poles, do a sample test, a core test that based on the depth, you know how many thousands of years deep you are. Look at what you have in that ice, and it tells you what the atmosphere was at that time. The primary sources of methane that can do something about are fracking, leaks, and cattle agriculture. Yeah, and there's also some new feeds that are not very expensive for animals that prevent them from farting that much, right? I think it's actually being developed in Australia. Anyway, second item from Rudnin, West Virginia's largest solar farm will sit on a former coal mining site. Feels like poetic justice, but really, solar has become cheaper than coal, meaning that energy supply companies will start going green out of economic concern more than for need to protect the environment. The last coal-fired plant will go under and be demolished long before we run out of coal. You know what? It's so sad. That statement that you made is so true, but it is sad. That it's not trying to do good by people, making sure they have good air to breathe, making sure the environment is good, that's causing these companies to do the things that they need to do. It's simply because of the mighty dollar. That's what I talk about corrosiveness of the particular economic system that we've learned to accept as natural. It isn't natural. It isn't normal. It isn't humane. It isn't moral. Not because this is what we've been inculcated in our minds, mean that an economic system, I mean, again, I want you, look, the people that are out there, the activists that are out there, they want a clean environment. They don't look at the profit motive or anything like that. They want it because it makes people healthy, because it's a better thing. The corporations adapt supporting a good environment just because they can make a better dollar than having a bad environment? Do you understand how immoral that is? Think about that. It's only because you can make a dollar by cleaning something up that you do, but if it kills people and all that, but you can't make a dollar, let them die, the same way with our healthcare system. I mean, the things that we have learned to accept as natural, the things that we have learned to accept as that's just the way it is, it's not. We can change it, but we have to do it one person at a time, and we can't just sit down and listen among each other, those in the know. We have to be able to talk to everybody else, those in the not know, and get them as well to see things the way they really are, and not the way we were brainwashed to believe they should be. All right, next one from Rudnin says, why should progressives embrace 21st century economics Bill of Rights? Because they already do. Progressives need to make clear to the American people that they have a cohesive economic program for the country. On that, the American people want. Polls consistently show that majority of Americans across the country want to see Congress turn the central features of the progressive economic agenda into laws, policies, and programs. The articles goes on to outline the 10 core points to progressive economic agenda. 1, the right to a useful job that pays a living wage. The right to a voice. That is actually from Roosevelt, I think. 3, the right for, it was called the Second Bill of Rights, right? It's called the Second Bill of Rights. 3rd, the right to comprehensive health care, the right to complete cost-free education and access to broadband internet, the right to decent, safe, affordable housing, the right to clean environment and healthy planet, the right to meaningful endowment of resources of birth and secure retirement, and the right to sound banking and financial services, the right to equitable economic fair justice system, the right to the creation and participation in civic democratic life. I'd summarize these in creating a government that prioritizes the needs of the people. Absolutely so. And you know, people want those things. But you know what the right is good at doing, and the neoliberals as well? They can turn those beautiful words that says people first into a format that says you want something for nothing. Watch how quickly they will turn that into you want something for nothing, as opposed to this is a right that everybody, every human should have. Watch that. Check it out. All right. Marjorie Taylor Greene reports. Marjorie Taylor Greene reports. Jimmy Kimmel joke to Capitol Police. The Georgia Republican tweeted a clip of Jimmy Kimmel from the late night host Tuesday monologue on Jimmy Kimmel Live, in which the comic said of Greene, "This woman, Klan mom, is especially upset with the 3 Republican senators who said they'll vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's nominated for the Supreme Court." She tweeted, "Murkowski, Collins, and Romney are pro-pedophile. They just voted for KBJ. Wow, there is Smith. There is Will Smith when you really need him." Last night, Kimmel responded with a tweet of his own, retweeting Greene's tweet and writing, "Officer, I would like to report a joke." Shauna Golden Gate Blow tweeted, "Word how fast the free speech brigade shape shifts into a giant snowdrift the moment anyone says anything they don't like. You know what's really funny? According to Rudnin, Marjorie Greene voted against the Violence Against Women Act last year. The cancel culture rallying snowflakes, Karen, wouldn't know ideological consistency until it slapped her in the face." These guys don't need to be ideological consistent. They just need, because again, remember, the modus operandi is to keep the people who follow us dumb. Marjorie Taylor is not dumb. She sounds dumb, but she is just catering to her base. Instead of elevating her base, she's moving down to her base's most inner fears because she can use it to attempt to win. It's a perverse thing, I tell you. Why is CPAC traveling to illiberal Hungary? They like authoritarianism. American conservatives announced plans to rally behind Hungary's far-right Prime Minister Viktor Orban through the high-profile network Conservative Political Action, CPAC, a sign that the movement has increasingly embraced hard-right authoritarian worldview following Donald Trump's presidency. I wonder, are Republicans anti-democratic because they are authoritarians, or are they anti-democratic because they're habitual obstructionists? Perhaps both. I think both is more the answer, sir. Michael, how many things did you send me today? Bucha victim. Russian troops beat me. Douse me in diesel fuel. A Ukrainian survivor recounts being tortured by Russian forces in a town near Kiev, where the evidence of atrocities is growing. There have been hundreds of incidents of Russian soldiers torturing and or killing civilians. And they're also going into people's home, taking their appliances, whatever, throwing it in their truck and taking it back to Russia. Amazing, you know. United Nations suspends Russia from the human rights body. I saw that. Okay, continuing. Welcome, Paul Fleming. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Berto, I had a rapid test. Yes, I read that one already. Melanie Keelan, how are you doing, my dear, beautiful friend? Breach MCP says, congrats to our new justice. Woohoo! Yes. Ketanji Brown Jackson, welcome aboard. Let's see who else we got here. Para ver. Egberto, yes, based on FDR's Economic Bill of Rights. Yes, I remember that. Bruce says, how can the right to vote and the right to internet stand on the same stage? It's not about them standing on the same stage. It's about just one of the things that we want in society. No, you're right. One has a lot more potency than the other, right? Egberto, I said at the start that I was going to go way over. There's a whole lot of news that got me down, and I needed to share a lot of it. And you know what, brother? You shared it all right. And you know what, brother? We also read it because, yes, you're right. They were all solid stories. Anybody wants to say anything else before I get to the first video? The first video is kind of funny. You know, I don't know if you guys remember the Obama phone where Obama was giving welfare people phones, you know. The right used to love that trope. Of course, that's just what it was. But Because Reagan is the one who instituted the policy, right? But you know how it goes. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you are on Facebook, give us a like. If you're on Twitter, please follow Egberto Willis. Please follow Egberto Willis. Muchísimas gracias. Okay, let's go and play a little of Psaki. You know, it seems like they never learn. Do you remember back when Obama was president, how the Republicans tried to make a big deal out about Obama was giving welfare people cell phones and the works? You know, they went into all that kind of stuff, right? Turned out as it was that these are programs that were set up under Reagan, etc., and it was just an implementation of the Department of Human Resources, or one of those departments, right? Here we have again Peter Doocy, Fox News' Peter Doocy. He wants to one more time try to embarrass the president. He tries. And somehow it never works. And he tries again today. You mean you're giving cell phones to those people who cross the border? And you know what? Psaki had an answer for him. And it was quite funny.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. First, on immigration, our team in Texas is saying that you guys are starting to give smartphones to border crossers, hoping that they'll use the phones to check in or to be tracked. Which part of that is supposed to deter people from crossing illegally into the States?
Well, I think you, of all people, since you've asked me a range of questions on this topic over time, would recognize that we need to take steps to ensure that we know where individuals are and we can track and we can check in with them. The Alternatives to Detention program is what we utilize, has 3 unique forms of technology to monitor participants enrolled in the program. Telephonic, this is one of them, which uses a participant's voice to create a biometric voice print during the enrollment process. And when the participant has a check-in call, their voice is compared to the voice print. Smart Link, which is another option, enables participant monitoring via smartphone or tablet using facial matching technology to establish identity. And Global Positioning System monitoring is of a participant's location and movement history using satellite technology through an ankle bracelet. This is all part of our effort as individuals come into the United States and individuals who are entering, who will proceed to immigration proceedings, to monitor and track where they are.
With the telephonic, though, any concern by folks around here that these migrants will take the phones and just toss them? And then,
do you have a record of people throwing phones away?
I'm just asking if that's a concern.
Our concern is ensuring that individuals who irregularly migrate to the United States proceed through our process of, of course, being monitored, but also participating in hearings to determine whether or not they will be able to stay. I would note that nearly 80% of non-citizens released at the border from DHS custody under prosecutorial discretion have either received a notice to appear or are still within their window to report. So actually, the vast majority of people are appearing. In part, we have these monitoring systems in order to do that effectively.
That was interesting. But you know, there's one thing Psaki didn't say, right? To keep each one of these people locked up while they wait for trial or whatever costs thousands of dollars a month, right? A cell phone may cost the government, I don't know, let's say a couple $100 for the cell phone, and then another $20 a month for the service. I would think she should have also made the fiscal responsibility argument, and then to turn it on Republicans who always want to lock people up, whether it makes fiscal sense, financial sense, or not. So I think, she did a great job, but there's a lost opportunity there. We could have made a complete discussion on who is more fiscally responsible, who really do things in a more in a manner that's more intelligent, that gets results. Maybe she should have added that, but then again, every day this week she really put him down, so maybe she just felt a little bit sorry. But anyhow, good job. Absolutely good job. Absolutely good job. Anyhow. I think Peter Doocy someday is going to catch on, and he'll get her someday. But man, he's been having a hard time. Because I tell you, if you take a look at what these guys are doing, I'm waiting for the day that we get a press secretary that when somebody asks a silly question, you say, stupid question, next. Silly question, next. That question wasn't real, next. Look it up, next. I can't wait for that to occur. Before I go to the other video, let's see what else we got here. Michael Renner says, an hour ago, Senate confirms Ketanji Brown. Yes, 53-47. Was great. Evelyn Sarher, welcome to Politics Done Right. E2247, welcome to Politics Done Right. Anybody that I'm missing? Here's the thing, Evelyn. Today, the FBI conducted an investigation of fraud on Bugsby. Really? I didn't know. Busby, I think is his name, right? That's the guy who was got all the women to sue our quarterback. I don't remember his name. I didn't realize he was under federal. What is it for, Evelyn? Let me know. Type in this. Tell me what is the FBI investigating. Now, by the way, I am, Lina Hidalgo is a friend of mine. And I can tell you there isn't somebody that is more honest, rule following than this young woman. She got the job very young. She was 30 when she became the most powerful politician in Harris County, the most powerful politician in Harris County. And, I know there's a lot of tricks that people try because she's young. And, she's going to have to go through the ropes. But again, she's a friend. She's a good woman. And she's an honest woman, unlike most of the guys that you see on the court. And what I would hope for going forward is for women and women-loving men to start standing up when you see those guys attack women like they do in Harris County. Because they love to do it. When Emmett was there, Houston flooded many times. Harris County under Emmett Smith, or a Republican guy that's been there for decades that Democrats love to hang out with as well. Harris County Democrats used to love Ed Emmett. They loved him. This is a little bit of local politics. They love Ed Emmett. And here comes this progressive young woman, born in Colombia and naturalized citizen, went to Harvard or one of the things and came back to Houston, became an activist, and won the most powerful job in Harris County. She's the most powerful county exec in the country. And they try to give her a hard time. She will be reelected. She will be reelected by a landslide. We will make sure of that. We will make sure, mark my word, Lina Hidalgo will be back again as Judge Lina Hidalgo, County Commissioner. Anyhow, let's get back to national politics. Para ver. Today, House Oversight Committee investigating potential POTUS 45 violations of Presidential Records Act. PRI sent a letter to the AG Garland about DOJ. Not only that, in New York, they want to charge. They're asking that he pays $10,000 per day because he doesn't want to turn over information to New York. So, but you kind of wonder what the hell is wrong with these people that's taken so long to drive. There are some guys that do wrong and get away with it constantly, and others, they just can't buy a bullet. Anyhow, let's continue here. Garland is obstructing, according to E2247. Bridge MCP says, thanks E2247 about time. They say Garland, a formal letter about, I think it's about that time too. Rondon saying, Egberto, never ask an idiot to look it up. They'll never cite credible sources when they do. Yeah, I know. They'll try to find we know that. Okay, here's the other one. You know what I think about the oil industry. And I want to play this piece by Sorkin and what he claims is the oil problem, right? And then I want to take it on the other side. So let me go ahead and play that, and then we'll definitely come back and discuss it much more in detail. Check it out.
Let's talk
Right.
about these oil CEOs.
Do we blame the oil barons?
I've got to say the oil barons, they really make for really likable characters on Capitol Hill. Easy to.
I'm going to give you the mixed, both sides view of the situation. The oil companies effectively stopped investing in new drilling, not because they were trying to save the environment, but because the economics of drilling over the last decade, up until now, were terrible.
Especially during COVID.
Correct.
And so it's all these Republicans saying, oh, if only the Democrats hadn't stopped the drilling. It wasn't the Democrats that stopped the drilling, it was COVID.
So I think there's that. On the other side, I do think there's also a reality that the investor class doesn't necessarily want to be in the fossil fuel business. And so there is this sort of move, a sort of almost free market-ish move. And then there are political policies that are in place or want to be in place that are sort of creating enough uncertainty in that space where people are saying, do I really want to drill more? So I don't know if you want to blame the guys for the price or not. I think the truth is that the reason we have the prices where we are today is we have not probably thought enough about the national security implications of what it means to take oil from Russia.
But again,
And you could argue that we haven't moved fast enough on green energy, which is to say, the transition is going to be painful.
That's it right there.
All of these people running around with their hair on fire, blaming the new Green Deal or whatever they're blaming for market forces. I mean, we're where we are now because of market forces, because the investor class didn't want them to go out with new exploration that cost a lot of money, that would hit the bottom line.
It creates this very unique conundrum, which is you have to drill now, ostensibly to deal with this short-term issue, and at the same time, can you walk and chew gum and invest longer term in the green energy stuff that needs to get done?
I want you guys to understand what you just saw here because it's so important. I love Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough turns out to be one of the most honest TV hosts, right? He doesn't give up his republicanism. I mean, he's not a Republican, but he's still a conservative. But he understands, and many times the way he speaks, you get a chance to see that he wants to be an accurate speaker. He's a conservative. He's not like me. I'm a liberal, and I want everybody with their rights, etc. But I want you to point out one thing. What did he say? It's the market forces that are causing the prices to be this high. Not Biden, not anything else, but market forces. Let's put a stop there. So we are saying the mythical market, we feel okay to leave a resource that is existential for us in the country, meaning to get to your doctor, your lawyer, your job, and everything else. This is something that we must have. This is something that we must have at an affordable price so that we can do it and it doesn't break us, it doesn't take away our future, right? And we leave that to market forces, what they call market forces. Ask yourself, when you went to any gas station over the last several months, did you ever have a shortage of gas? Were you ever not able to get gas? When you went to buy your eggs, was there an empty row with no eggs? When you went to buy your toilet paper, when you went to buy most of the products that you wanted, remember, the prices went up. People are complaining because more of their disposable income is going to purchase these things, right? In other words, they didn't stop purchasing these things so that supply is, that because there's a shortage of supply. These guys just chose to increase the price. You are made to believe that there was no other choice, that somehow it costs them more. I'm talking about the big producers, because little producers buy from the same place the average person buy just with a small discount. So they get ding as well. But these big producers, they price because they can. So when you see that you can always get your eggs, your gas, and all of that just at a higher price. And that you're buying the same amount and everybody else is buying the same amount. They're just saving less. It's a transfer of wealth. It's not real inflation. It's that you don't have pricing power. And it's hard to get that across when you have Sorkin there saying it's Joe Scarborough saying it's market forces, because they're right. This is market forces. And that is the capitalist market. That is how the capitalist market functions. Does it have to be that way for us to have a successful economy? No. But you are meant to be, you are made to believe that. Let's give one Venezuela example. When we talk about getting oil from Venezuela, you know, a lot of Republicans would like to say, oh, you're trying to get oil from those socialists, right? But we have no problem getting a whole lot of oil from Saudi Arabia. We don't have a problem getting a lot of oil from the Emirates and all these other places that we get oil from. But in our backyard, where we have the largest reserve of oil on the planet, Venezuela, because Venezuela is not under a capitalist system, we are not going to do anything to help those guys exploit their resources any longer, right? We won't do it. We let them starve until they do it our way. And when they try to do it themselves, we will make sure that they can't. You know, people say like, you know, our system may not be perfect, but name me a perfect system. I say, I can't name you a perfect system. You know why? Because we won't allow that perfect system to emerge. You know, it's like, it is like you put the boot on somebody's neck and then say, why can't you get up? Come on, get up. The boot is on their neck. And you're telling them, get up, get up, get up. But they can't get up because your boot's on the neck. That's the difference between, that's why we have economic systems that can never flourish, because we has the dominant economic system. Anytime one tries to come up, let me tell you something that they'll not tell you. They'll never tell you this about Venezuela. When Chavez started, it was benevolent, right? When Chavez started out, I don't know about Maduro. Maduro is a crackpot. But Chavez, you know, Chavez was creating this Bolivarian United States of South America, right? That was a panic. You don't hear that news over here. You don't hear that over here. I mean, Argentina, Brazil, all these people were borrowing money when petrodollars were huge. He has the largest base. But you know what? Oil crashed and he crashed. They made sure that his economy couldn't survive. But the time when his economy was doing well, the people that were living in poverty, even under Carlos Andrés Pérez and all these other capitalists, and that Carlos Andrés Pérez wasn't like the biggest capitalist in the world, right? But he was, you know, he still played ball with the shell companies, or the oil companies. But, you know, when Chavez came in, all those people, the poverty was gone. They don't tell you that. But those, the Rabiblancos in Venezuela and these other folks that run the empresas, las empresas venezolanas, they couldn't have that. They couldn't have that the resources of the country would be evenly distributed to the people. They didn't want that. They wanted the system that we have here. Americans don't see that that they're just as extractive with us. Americans generally don't see it either, right? I want you to think about this. There's oil in a lot of public lands, and you hear Bush, I mean, you hear Biden and all of them talk about drilling on private lands and all that kind of stuff, right? And you ask yourself, why are the oil companies and their shareholders and the bonuses the executives get, why are they the ones making all the spoils from all that oil that they pick up from these public lands with a very minor tax? Why aren't they picking up all that oil, charging how much they invest in getting that oil, having some predetermined profit of which we the people are a part of as well, maybe pay for schools and all of that, with the profits from all the mining resources on public land. We don't do that. You know who does it? One Republican state does it. Alaska. Alaska give every one of their people a check for all for the oil that goes through that Alaskan pipeline. And I imagine that was like a bribe for them to build the pipeline. That's my guts. I don't know. I'm just saying that. But let's remember that Americans are exploited whenever we have the tons of resources on public lands. Corporations mine them, and then they, with their shareholders and their bonus, they keep it all. And we, the people who are just as American as anybody else, the natives who live on whose land that was many a times, are in abject poverty, and the resources goes to a few. How humane, how moral, how honest. You want to know why we can't allow Venezuela to have done what they wanted to do with that oil? Because when Americans saw that another country that has tons of natural resources, just like America has. America might not have that amount of oil, but we have a lot of other resources as well. A lot of other resources. But if we ever decided to say, wait a minute, with the millions and millions of acres of public land, how comes that money isn't going into the American coffers? Why not? You want to know why they want to privatize a lot of land? Because they know that eventually people are going to get smart and say, whoa, that land is private. Anything that mined on that land belongs to us all. Okay, let me get to a few of your stories before I get busy. Let's see what we got here. Easy how she got elected. We will find out next election. Yep. All right, let's see. Good. That's from Bruce. Good afternoon, everyone. Maywood, welcome aboard. Michael says, I don't have much hope for the future of civilization if we have to wait for free market solution. Exactly. I agree with you, dear Michael. Paul Fleming says, Joe married a Democratic woman whose father served Jimmy Carter. He got an education, thus the change. I agree with you. I didn't want to quite say it, but, you know, she's really schooled him, and she's great in the way she talks to him, right? Carl Cox says, Egberto, another example of corporate greed, market-driven economy. South Fulton Hospital in East Point, Georgia, is closing its emergency room and turning it into an urgent care facility. I wonder why. I wonder why. Michael Ronan says the price of necessary goods are as high as people would be willing to pay. When the cost of production decreases and the supply increases, the prices don't automatically adjust. Lowering prices has a long delay while business profiteer. Absolutely. Carl Cox says another example of corporate greed that says a bleep with the health and well-being of the public well-being. Eric Hayes says, who here listened to the oil exec testify yesterday? Long story short, spot price and future markets are the drivers, can't change immediately, etc. The politicians don't understand it all for sure. Alaska doesn't know the administration has shut down permits. Again, you keep buying the Kool-Aid. First of all, let's be sure here. Alaska gives everybody a check from public lands. Private lands are not public property. We're not talking private lands. We're talking public property here that they drill on, okay? And also, nobody, even if you own land, supposedly own land, I don't see how you really own land in the United States from land that was already owned, but hey, what can I say? But none of those resources should belong, and should really belong to folks. But anyway, that's a different story. Welcome to the PDR Posse. Oh, I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. Let's go ahead and... I'm Egberto Willies, as host of Politics Done Right, a progressive radio media show on Pacifica Network's KPFT 90.1 FM Houston that engages all ideologies. I found that our political angst isn't mostly ideological. There is a well-designed effort by many in power to control us. If we are at each other's throats, we are less likely to demand our economic and local wishes. In that light, I wrote 3 books. I wrote the first one titled, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, to describe the entire economy in a manner we can all understand. It highlights why it was designed to pill for most as it empowers a few, the chosen. The second book, titled, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, take it to the next level. After understanding how the system pilfers, it is incumbent that we can speak to our peers to empower a change. The third book, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, gives us a place to land. After learning about our economy that is dysfunctional for most and learning how to engage the other side, we point out what would make an economy that works for all. Each book stands on its own, but together they provide the full picture. Please consider getting one or more. You will undoubtedly learn, be entertained, and help us continue the mission with our blogs, articles, videos, and books. Absolutely. So it seems like we got a new member that it didn't show up in all the places, but it looks like, let me see if that's what I'm seeing here. I think I see a new member. Let's see, bear with me. And Andrea Tucker, welcome to the thank you so kindly. Let's see, Andrea Tucker, thank you so kindly for becoming our latest member. Folks, give a salute to Andrea Tucker, our most latest member of the PDR Posse on YouTube. Thank you so kindly, Andrea. We couldn't do this without you. You can get the book, folks. Let me put the book inside of the link here. Para ver. Politics Done Right. Oops, that's not it. That's not it. Let's see. politicsdoneright.com/books. politicsdoneright.com/books is where you can pick up our books. Please go ahead and get our books. I promise you, you will like it. You will be entertained by it, but you'll also learn a lot by it. You can support us as well by becoming a Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is a Patreon. Patreon. Alternatively, if you don't see that join button on YouTube, which will follow what Andrea did and join as well. But if you don't see that join button, or if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Twitter or somewhere else, go ahead and join us by going to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. But you know, the preferred method of support, of course, is PayPal. politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can give us either once a month, or you can just go ahead and say, I'll give you just one contribution, whatever you want. But we need to keep this message going out, and I cannot do it without your kind support. You guys are the ones that make this happen. Let me see. There's our store. I forgot about the store. We have a lot of new products in our store. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/store. politicsdoneright.com/store. Pick up a mug. You know who picked up a mug? Alistair Waters. She picked up a mug. She picked up a lime green mug, and there she is on the screen. Love Alistair. She went ahead and got the mug. So why don't you pick up a mug, pick up a t-shirt, a hoodie, whatever you can. That will help us, although those we only get a little bit off of what you pay for that thing, but it's still worth it's still something. So please consider supporting us by our store as well. And lastly, but not least, let me get back to my thing here, if I can find it. Our all-in-one support can be found at politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. We can't do this without you. We thank you so kindly for the support that you constantly give us, because that is how I get a chance to do all of this. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Eric Hayes says, you serve the Kool-Aid, Egberto. I imagine that's because I said most on the right drink the Kool-Aid. Not really, Eric. If you can tell me anything, I gave a complete narrative today based on facts. If you can tell me one thing that you heard me say that was incorrect, and you prove that, I will be the first to point it out. All right, E22477, Egberto, do you have a good store of your Eric Bowler fro, your bygone days? Let me see. Do you have any good stories of you and Eric Bowler? I don't have any story of Eric Bowler. I met him one time, right? Sorry, sadly he died. I don't understand it though, because they said a train hit him. A train hit him. He's a cyclist. I'm a cyclist as well. I just don't get it. He was a nice guy. I spoke to him I think it's at Netroots or at the Democracy Convention. I don't remember where. All right, let's see what else we got. Before I go, I have some other good story. Oh, we're running out of time. Oh man, I'm not gonna be able to do all the videos. So let me tell you which one can I do. Let's see. I am running out of time for videos. I have the Stephanie Rule video and the Anand Hidadas. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll leave the Anand video for tomorrow because that one covers more of the Musk and billionaires and that sort of a thing. That one is a 7-minute video. The Stephanie is an 8-minute video. Let me go ahead and play the Stephanie video, and then we'll close out the show after that one. And then I'll bring the Anand video tomorrow and maybe an interview. I got several interviews that are stacked up, but today there was so much news. I wanted to bring some of the news out and then hear what you guys had to say. And so good I did it because Rudnin was at it again. But anyhow, let's go ahead and play some Stephanie right here, and then we'll take it on the other side. You know, the oil companies went to Congress and they were testifying. You know, I think they actually did it over Zoom. But, you know, they have no control over pricing is what they say. They say that the market dictates the prices of oil, etc., etc., etc. The one thing they forget to tell you is that they make the market, right? The other thing that they forget to tell you is that with the windfall that's coming into them, they could supposedly invest that into making sure things don't get where they are today. One of the reasons I have always been for the nationalization of certain parts of our economy is that you cannot trust that vital parts of your economy dependent on people filling their pockets with money can ever be run efficiently for the people and not for the corporation, the shareholders. Again, Milton Friedman said it. The sole purpose of the corporation is to enrich the shareholders. And therefore, when it comes to things like critical things of need, we should not depend on the benevolence of those who run corporations or those who own corporations to expect that goodness, that we would get anything other than they will take as much as they can from us. And that's the reason why certain parts of our economy, healthcare, energy, and other parts need not be within the profit domain. But I want you to listen to this piece. Stephanie Rule kind of exposed them. Let's go ahead and listen to this, and then we'll go ahead and take it on the other side.
Americans today are facing extraordinarily high gas prices at the pump. The average price of a gallon of regular gasoline 1 year ago was under $3. Today, the average is over $4 a gallon, and in some places, it's nearly $6 a gallon. These prices are straining our constituents' budgets and their patience.
Some of America's top oil executives were brought, you saw that, before a House subcommittee today to get a grilling from lawmakers.
Why is the price of oil coming down, but the price at the pump is still near record highs?
The American people are getting ripped off as these companies choose to keep production low so that their own profits stay high.
It's time for the big oil companies to lower prices rather than pad your bottom line.
It feels like gouging. It even feels like profiteering.
But you'll never guess who the Republicans on the committee thought was actually to blame for high gas prices.
President Biden walked in day one with an agenda to kill American energy.
Rather than deflect blame, President Biden should consider his own culpability.
Today is purely political. President Biden needs cover for his war on American energy that has caused gas prices to skyrocket.
This might be a good time to let you know that members of this very subcommittee received a whopping $383,000 from big oil. And according to the FEC, 97% of that money went to Republicans. So what did the oil executives have to say about the high prices Americans are paying at the pump? They said it's not their fault.
We do not set or have significant influence over the price of our products.
No single company sets the price of oil or gasoline. The market establishes the price.
Shell does not set or control the price of crude oil. Similarly, Shell does not set or control the price that consumers pay.
It is true. They do not set the price of oil. And it is also true that during the height of COVID, when oil prices dropped, so did their profits. But as oil prices have gone up, last year they made more money than they have in 8 years. And since the start of this year, they're expected to make even more. But here's what matters. Where are they spending all of that money? On buybacks and dividends for shareholders, not increasing production.
Now, it is important that you understand that last sentence that she just said. It is very important. Prices are very high. They're shipping this because there's this stuff they call inflation. But what is inflation? Inflation is the prices that they set. When they tell you that they don't have control of the pricing, they are lying. When Shell has a store and he determines what he's going to sell that gas price for, it's his pricing. When the stockbrokers decide to have trading on a barrel of oil, they can decide to take it or not. They produce it, throw it on the market, and let the market decide. And you know what the market is? The market is there on both sides of the market. They're on the production side, they're on the consumer side, they're on every side of the market. So when they tell you they don't control the market, they're lying. But anyhow, let's assume that was true. And just by the figment of their goodness, they start to make all this extra cash because inflation is so high. They bring in a lot more money. And supposedly, the reason for inflation, right, is as prices go higher and profits increase, that creates the incentive to go ahead and drill more or do what's necessary. Invest into having a better electro whatever kind of a business. That is what you do to mitigate it, right? But that's not what they did. They decided to take the extra cash and buy back their stock, pay dividends to the shareholders, and bonuses to the executives. In other words, I want you guys who always defend these people to understand what is happening here. We're taking all this money from those poor people. That mother with a kid who now has to spend another $100 a week on gas. That sick person who has to get to the hospital. He is going to have to pay that much more for the gas to get him to the hospital. So that they take your money and put it into the pockets of a few, just a few, wealthy stockholders of these corporations and the bonuses from these people. I have friends in the oil industry and they say, you know what, man? We got a big bonus. I know. I'm happy you got the bonus. But do you realize that was bread out of a hungry person's mouth? That was milk out of a kid's mouth. Because that parent couldn't buy it because she or he had to buy more gasoline. That is our system. And that's why we need, on things that are materially important to the American people, we shouldn't relegate it to a profit motive like these oil criminals. These oil criminals that they are, when I talk about abstracted ill will, abstracted evil. They do evil, but it's abstracted because they don't see that baby without the milk because of the higher prices that they now get in the form of a dividend. In other words, I take the money from the poor person and I give it to that person who is getting a dividend. That rich person who is getting the dividend. I take the money from that person who needs support, but they have to use, they can't because they need more gas, and I give it as a bonus. Do you get it? Inflation isn't magical. Inflation isn't something that just happens. Inflation is the concerted effort by the people with pricing power to say, I'm going to take your money because I can. And that is something, and by the way, once again, thank you, Andrea Tucker, for becoming our latest PDR Posse member on YouTube. Click that join button if you're on YouTube, or go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube to become a member. Again, what I want you guys to understand this. They take your money because they can. You are paying $5 for gasoline, $4 for gasoline because they can do it to you, and you cannot do a damn thing about it. Well, you can. Education. Understanding that this system doesn't have to work the way it is working right now. Only you have the power to change it. But you have to build the posse. You have to be out there telling other people, hey, it doesn't have to be that way. There's nothing that a shareholder does to innovate to make oil a better deal. There's nothing that an executive does that makes that allows us to get better oil out. I've worked for oil service companies I can name them for you: Dresser Atlas, NL Industries, Daniel Industries. One is a pipeline company, one is for drilling, for logging the oil well. I understand these markets. My lifetime was NASA and oil and computer programming, software development. I am telling you, the people who do the work aren't the ones who get the bonuses, and aren't the ones who get the shareholder value, and aren't the ones who make the supremely high salaries. It's the business class, those who do nothing, that make it. And then they try to tell you that if we nationalize the oil industry, guess what happens, man? Innovation stops. No. Innovation doesn't happen initially at oil companies. It happens at universities with public dollars or grants. Don't ever sit down and believe that companies put so much money into research and that's not their spill. They're into taking whatever money they can out of the system, and they socialize the development of software. It is like you're going to hear from Anand Hidadas on the piece that I have for tomorrow. You know what they do? It's like he went to space and everybody's, look, Musk went to space. What a wonderful thing. I was working for NASA back in the 80s and 80s. We developed those things and actually got to the moon, got to Mars, got to all these places. This guy takes all the development from the government and get a couple of miles up in the sky and say, I'm in space. Look at how great I am. I'm pretty ship. And I did something marvelous. And then the media goes crazy. Wow, this guy, a private company went to space. Huh? What? We, the government, went to the moon. We landed somebody on the moon. We left the atmosphere of Earth. We left the gravitational pull of Earth to get to the moon. Well, we didn't completely lose the gravitational pull at the moon, but we did that. The government did that. Yes, we use private corporations to do it, of course, yes. But we paid for it, we did it, we paid for the research. And then Musk goes up with a substandard trip around, went up and come back down, and the whole country goes crazy because of how our marketing works. Musk did nothing. Bezos did nothing. We the people have always been the ones doing this. And it is so hard to get people to accept their worth, to say you are the ones that are worthy. Those billionaires are nothing more than parasites with an economic system that was designed for parasites. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.